guys, Captain Brian here with Fishing Ape Outdoors, and a little how-to today on how to make yourself your own spider rigging kits or trolling kits, whatever rod holders that you want for crappie fishing. We've all seen them in the stores, and you know, they're $100 or better to get these things. And I've seen a couple different ways to make them, and had another guy show me a couple ways to do stuff. So I thought I'd just share with you guys today on how I set up the ones that I made. And there's variances that you can do, and different things you can do with them. So, but the first thing I did find that's most important is definitely get yourself 6-inch PVC that you're going to use. This is the green stuff, the better, heavier duty stuff. I didn't want the real light, flimsy crap. I didn't want it to crack on me, and I didn't want it bowing really bad if you get a fish on there and it starts twisting. I didn't want it to get all twisted up and not be able to hold the rod. So, but 6 inches key for the simple fact that when you cut it in half for where you're going to have your rod sitting in here, you just don't have enough width in this if you do anything less than 6. So first thing to start off with is your 6-inch PVC. What I did then is I made them 3 inches wide, and so I just came back on here and marked 3 inches on my with my marker, went all the way around so I had someplace to follow on there. I cut mine off with a Sawzall. If you've got a chop saw of some sort, you know, you can cut it off with that. And then just kind of cleaned it up from there. The next step in that process was getting the rod holder set to where you got your butt section where it can go in and set in here, and then the front section where the rod's just going to lay in. So like when you've got your rod and your thing, you want to be able to hold it in there and have it set like that. So all I did, and what I had at the house, was a hole saw from putting in new door handles and locks, and that's the size I used for it. I believe it's like a 2 1/4 or something like that. You could definitely, an 1 3/4 would be fine. A 2-inch would be fine. You don't want to get real small though, because then you have a hard time trying to get that rod out of the section here. But I just came down, there was no scientific reason on how much to leave here. I just left enough that I thought it wouldn't crack or break or whatever in this area. And then on here, I just basically put the drill bit of the hole saw right at the upper edge right here, and drilled through and popped that part out for laying the rod in. When you get your hole here, you're going to have this piece left over when it comes out to save that. This will become your washer that you'll use for when you want to adjust these up and down on your platform, whatever you use. And then I use 1/4 inch. I just use 1/4 inch bolts and wing nuts as what I used. And again, this here will go in there like such. And don't get them too long. I think these are about 1.5 inches in length. That you don't want to get them up too high so they're getting into your rod, but that way that'll be your nut here then, or your washer here, to be able to slide this up and down on your platform. The platforms I use, I got to make one more. The platforms I used, I had some old shelving left over at the house, and so I took the legs and cut them to 18 inches and double backed them. So you can see here, I bolted mine together, and it made it a lot sturdier unit. You can definitely go out. I've seen them at the stores. I mean, they've got 90 degree angle in black metal. They've got it in aluminum. If I'm going to do it, my next one that I got to get, I'm going to do it out of aluminum. They're $20 for a 2-foot piece, but it's a real nice piece of metal. Then not going to rust on you. This was gray, and I spray painted it black. But then on the underneath side, I just drilled my holes where I wanted. You already had holes here, and I drilled the hole for the centerpiece where it's going to sit on the rod. But then I was just able to use the holes that I had there to mount my rod holders, the actual holders themselves. I did 18 inches just because that's what any of the other, the commercial made ones were, is about 18 inches. It holds 4 rods perfectly. I could probably space these two here out a little bit more if I just drilled my own holes, but I just used what was there. As far as holding all this in place, I went with 3/8 rod. or 3/16 rod, and just got your star bases. You can get your star bases pretty much anywhere. Heck, they're only $3-4. I put 2 in the front and then 2 back a little bit farther. And then as far as length on doing these, these are a little bit shorter than the front ones. The front ones, I believe I did at 22 or 24 inches. I kept them right around 2 foot. These I did 18. They're going to be a little bit shorter, but I like the rod. Makes it easy to get in and out. I can just unscrew them quick, and when I'm going to go bass fishing or don't need them in, boom, they're gone. They're out real quick. And what I added for strength is 3/4 inch EMT conduit. And what I did is I notched the ends here to go around the wings on the star bases. So that way, when I've got this set up, and what I've done here, if you take just if you just take this 1/2 inch rod and get it in here, it will flop around on you. It's not going to make it as sturdy as you want it. So what I've done is taken a nut, put down and got me a washer that'll fit just inside. It'll fit just inside the conduit, and that keeps it from rattling around. If you don't have that, you can see how much that can rattle back and forth. You take that washer and lay in there, and you don't have the play in it that you normally would. So I lay that down on there and get it set. Put my conduit in here. Get it started just to show you, and then I slide my conduit over top of the rod like so, and fit it down on there so it's got a nice, good, sturdy mount. Got my unit here, my actual holder, and lay that up on top of it, and then I've got another washer and my wing nut here that I'll screw down on top of that. And then that way, when I'm running down the lake or something and I've got all these on, I tend to turn them so they're out sideways like that. My front ones here, a lot of times when I'm fishing and trolling forward, I can turn it, and that way I've got my rods faced out forward. These will probably always be faced this way, and then what I can do is I can spread the rods out by just turning these a little bit and spreading them out here in the water, and getting them a little bit farther away from the boat. But yeah, it's a pretty simple deal, and I mean very sturdy. I don't know if this will show it very well just because I'm not going to have it down real tight. But I mean, that thing's not going to go anywhere, and the tighter you push this down, your rod down in there, and tighten this down, it tightens it right up. I've had no problems running down the lake, having them bounce or do anything. But you can make one of these, all of these. I'm going to have less than 25 bucks into making all 4 of these. I've got one for the other side. Like I said, I got these 2 there and 2 here. But it takes so little effort. You get yourself a 10-foot piece of conduit. You get yourself a 10-foot piece of all-thread rod, 1/2 inch all-thread rod. And you can just, that way you can cut them to whatever length and stuff you want them to be. And it works out really well. I would suggest doing your notches like this, because if you just set this on top of here, this thing can just rock on top of that, where with those notches, you're going down alongside it, and you can see it takes a little bit for me to even push it on there, and it just gives it that much sturdier of a hold on there, especially if you're out in some rougher water and it's bouncing around. But a pretty quick and simple way to do it. Like I said, you can the most money that you're going to spend is if you're on your angle, and like I said, your aluminum angle is I think a 2-foot. I think it was a 2-foot chunk. It was almost 14 bucks. Might have been a 4-footer, but I thought it was a 2-footer, and it was going for $14. So that's where most of your money's going to come in. Like I said, I had this stuff left over. You might have some black iron or something left over, and you make it out of that, and it's not going to cost you anything. But I think the black iron at the store is like $5 or something like that. It wasn't a whole lot. So like I said, it doesn't cost you a whole lot to get into any of this. I'll show you here what my base looks like, and what I was doing with this is I just went down and I notched it out just so when I laid that on top of that rod, you're already obviously gonna have your rod in here, and then I just take this and lay over top of it and notched it out right. And like I said, it takes a little bit of pushing that down on there, but I think it gives it a little bit better seal and a little bit sturdier hold than if you were to take this out. And if you just leave it raw and just having it sit on there like that, I think it's going to get to rocking around. So that's why I did it that way. Here's these. I've got these set up with some lights. I put some LED lights on them for when I'm out crappie fishing at night. That'll shine out and cover the 4 rods that I've got. Pretty easy to put them on there. I just actually zip tied these on for the time being. They do have screw holes back here, if you can see back there, if you wanted to screw them on. But I just kind of tested them around and seen where I wanted them and so forth right now. But I've got them wired up to the front, and I think what I'll do is just run a little more wire back here to these if I want them wired up. But pretty simple deal. Same thing again. You know, you just got these. You can unloosen them, turn them whatever way you want, slide these up and down. You know, if you want to unloosen this here, slide these up, slide them down depending on the rod you're using or the length of the rod, what you're doing. And then tight. The only thing I think I would have done different is, you notice when I'm turning on this how that the bottom turns too, is if you were able to get a square nut or a lock washer underneath here, it would probably work a little better. As you're turning it down, it would snug it up and you wouldn't have to worry about trying to reach underneath here and tighten it or hold it to tighten it. But pretty easy deal overall. Like I said, there's my base over there and the base here, and then I did the ones up front and there. Don't mind my that's my Dunkin' Donuts coffee spill there. But easy deal, pretty simple. All you need, I mean, if you don't have a Sawzall or anything, you can use a hacksaw to cut this stuff with. A drill to get your screws in. Try to use stainless steel if you can. That's a big deal. The stuff's going to be out in the water and get wet, so the stuff may rust on you. So even my screws and my wing nuts and stuff, or my bolts and wing nuts, they're stainless steel. So the stuff, you're not going to have problems with stuff getting rusty and on you. But pretty easy deal. You know, hole saw. Doing my groove here, all I did is I took my drill bit and started one hole there, and just kind of did a few to match it up. A couple of the other ones, I had a couple holes started and then took Sawzall and went down it and made my cut. Whatever you prefer, whatever you got there. You ain't got a Sawzall laying around, just take your drill bit. I think I used like a 9/32 or something. Just something a little bit bigger than your bolt, so when it's, you know, when you got this loose, it'll slide in here. You don't want it binding up when you're trying to move it. So just something a little bit bigger than your 1/4 inch bolt there, and that was a simple part there. Again, whatever you want to use as an angle, and it's pretty simple stuff, but you can get into them for next to nothing compared to the ones out on the commercial ones out in the store.